Now, from Wish TV, this is The Zone Extra, presented by Franciscan Health Sports Medicine. Coming up tonight, spring sports enter the home stretch as the postseason draws near. Also, we go one-on-one with the commissioner of the IHSAA for a wide-ranging conversation. Plus, we catch up with the director of the Indiana All-Stars as the basketball teams gear up to face their Kentucky counterparts. It's time for an all-new edition of the Zone Extra right now.
Hi, everybody. Good evening to you, and welcome to the Zone Extra. I'm Anthony Calhoun. Hard to believe we are quickly approaching the end of the school year, and that spring state tournaments, they're already underway. How about that? Coming up tonight, our Andrew Chernoff goes one-on-one with IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig from the IHSAA on a wide-ranging conversation. You don't want to miss that. Plus, we're talking Indiana basketball all-stars. Angela Moryan connects with Director Mike Broughton to break down the boys and girls teams ahead of their matchups with Kentucky next month. And we take a look at the postseason spring sports calendar coming up over the next few weeks. Friday night, though, it was a Hoosier Crossroads clash as Brownsburg hosted Noblesville, bottom of the first. Dogs looking good here. Evan Peck laces it over the shortstop for a base hit that brings home a run, part of a 3-run first inning for Brownsburg. Top of the second we go. Miller's coming right back, though. Trevor Corbett sends that one deep to left center. The double brings home a run. Game's all tied at 3. Millers lead by a run in the 5th here. Joe Glander with a swing and a drive. Nobody's getting that one. A solo homer there pushes the Noblesville Millers lead to 2, and they get the 5-3 victory to continue their outstanding season. Now, let's take a look at the top 5 teams this week in the Class 4A baseball poll. So here we go. Number 1, we've got Center Grove there, the Trojans. And then number 2, Noblesville. You got number 3, Mooresville, ranked 3rd this week in the Class of 4A coaches poll there. You got Floyd Central, number 4, and McCutcheon rounding out the top 5 there in the Class 4A coaches poll. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. We got much more coming your way tonight on the Zone Extra. Up next, our Andrew Chernoff goes one-on-one with IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig for a wide-ranging conversation on high school spring here sports in Indiana. That's coming up.
This is the Zone Extra, presented by Franciscan Health Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Zone Extra. Anthony Calhoun here with you tonight as we enter the stretch run of the 2023-24 high school sports season. It's time to hear from the commissioner. Our Andrew Chernoff had the chance to connect with IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig.
Thank you so much, AC. Andrew Chernoff here along with the commissioner himself, Paul Neidig of the IHSAA. Paul, appreciate the time today. Hard to believe another year basically done for high school sports. It's crazy how much this flies by. How did this year go? How much of a success was 2023-2024 from an IHSAA perspective?
Well, I think from our perspective, anytime student athletes have an opportunity to put on a school's uniform that has their community's name on it, we're going to call that a success. But outside of that, we've had a phenomenal year. You know, we start back in the fall, in the heat of the end of the summer in August, and our student athletes prepare for another season. And we had a great tournament in the fall. You know, our boys and girls soccer was phenomenal, and every tournament we had was a phenomenal tournament, and fans still come out in groves to watch their community play. And we finished our fall at Lucas Oil Stadium Thanksgiving weekend and had 6 great football games. And then we turned right around and we're in the winter, and we go indoors when it gets a little colder, and we play boys and girls basketball, wrestling, boys and girls swimming in the winter, and that's been really exciting. And we just finished up our boys basketball tournament here a few short weeks ago, and we had phenomenal crowds. I mean, the people still came out and supported Indiana high school basketball and the students from their communities. And now we're days away from stepping into the spring sport tournament season here.
It's crazy stuff. When you look at all these memories over the course of the past year, I know they all are meaningful to everyone. I know that you've said that in the past. Like, it's just cool to see these teams celebrate and, you know, just enjoy these experiences in general. Is there one that stands out to you?
Oh man, I tell you, at the boys basketball tournament this year, when I looked at and saw the Scottsburg crowd for their first trip ever to the state finals, and they were filled all the way from the first row to the top level seats at Lucas Oil or Gainbridge Fieldhouse, home of the Pacers and Fever, which is a great sponsor of ours. That visual, and we've had other great crowds this year, but that just made me realize once again that what we do, what these student athletes do, matters to these communities, and that's one moment, but there are so many. It's hard to pick one out.
It's funny, I used to live in Louisville for a while, and I remember just covering Scottsburg. That fan base bleeds their sports, and it's pretty cool to see them find the success. I got to ask you, because you look at just from where we are a few years ago, COVID is obviously ramping around, changing the whole sports landscape. Now that you've had a few years removed from that, do you feel like it's somewhat back to normal now?
Oh, I think it's back to normal, and I think we've grown. I think people took that time to realize how important sport is, and people were not able to attend some contest, and then we walked through COVID. We talk about this occasionally in the office, and we got through that, but we got through that with a different way in Indiana. We found a way to get it done. Our kids still participated, but then when the fans came back, they came back in record numbers, and in some places, especially the year out, we saw record attendance in many of our venues, and it has not slowed down. We've still seen phenomenal attendance, and again, communities showing up in support.
They've been showing up to support. I know for fans, this is a big talking point over the course of the last year. The state championship games on the IHSAA Champions Network. I know it's not on Bally, and that was a thing for a while. Feedback. I know you hear it probably.
Yeah, we do.
Can we go back to Bally, whatever like that? Is there something, I know IHSAA Champions Network does a great job, but do you ever see it going back to regular broadcast television stations?
Well, I think we evaluate it every year. We're never going to shut the door on opportunities that we think are good for our student athlete and their exposure. And Valley Sports, they had a change in structure, and certainly we understood that. But we were prepared for that day. We were able to continue to broadcast the state tournament events across the Champions Network, and we've been growing that ever since, because we still want to provide an access for people, our point of access for people to watch state championship events, and we were able to do that. I think this landscape of television and broadcast availability and who it's a constant state of transition right now, and to where it's going to end up, it'll be different next year than it is this year. We know that, and so we're not shutting the door on anything. We'll continue to look at opportunities to have the broadest release that we can for our programs and for our sporting events across the state.
You guys have so many things always working on, whether it's broadcast things or preparing for tournaments, preparing for whatever, talking with coaches, rules. From an official standpoint, I know that's always been something big. There's been official shortages just across the country, it seems like. It feels like it's sort of died down, though, at least in the last year or so. Is that the perspective that you guys have?
Well, I think part of that is because we've worked really hard from the state association often. It's just not us, our schools. We work on the recruitment efforts of officials on a daily basis, and we've learned that it can't be a single point of contact with people to say, come be an official. We can't put a tweet out to say, come be an official, and all these people sign up. We have to meet people where they're at, and we have to find out, first of all, what are people doing for a living, full-time living, that still want to officiate. Now, we know that. We can gear some of our marketing efforts towards people in specific fields, but we also know that if they can recruit one official to replace them, we're going to have enough. And we've empowered officials to recruit other officials. We have free licensing. We have an education program, Officiating 101, that now starts at the high school. And we provide grants through our foundation to be able to allow schools to teach student athletes how to be an official. And this next fall, we're going to have over 100 schools in the state teaching high school students how to be officials. And we're going to continue to grow that program. So we're working hard to make sure that we have officials so mom and dads can watch their sons and daughters play.
It's pretty cool how that's going to be a student-driven sort of thing,
I guess
you could say. Let's start looking ahead. Obviously, you guys just did the reclassification thing. It was 20, 25, 25, 30 formula. So the largest 20% of schools are in 4A, next 25% 3A, and so on. How will that change the way, I guess, sports are structured?
Well, I think in the short term, in the largest class, we have fewer schools. We've gone from around 101, 102 schools in the largest class down to around 80 schools. In our 3A and our 2A classes. In our 4-class system, we have around 100, 102 schools. And then in our 1A schools, because not every 1A school participates in all 4-class sports, we'll have around 120 schools. And we really think that closes the enrollment gap some. I mean, we have a large enrollment gap from our largest school to our smallest schools, and we work to close that. Some people would say it's not enough, and I understand that. But one of the things that I'm excited about is we're increasing with the more teams in 1A. I really think we're going to have more traditional sectional feel, especially in basketball, where we have as many as 7 or 8 teams in the sectional that are going to play that tough week to get to that championship game, and I really think that's going to be beneficial to the sport. You know, and this is the largest change that we've made since we went to class basketball or class sports in 1997, and we're certainly not going to have that debate here today. But, you know, it's a change, and we're not afraid to look at change in the future, and we will continue to evaluate this tournament as we walk into next year, and we'll see what we need to do in the future.
One thing that you guys recently changed was making regional and semi-states in some of these sports. So regional is now 1 game, semi-state 2. It used to be flipped.
Yes.
What's been the feedback now that that's been a thing the last couple of years?
Well, I think the fans have really liked it. I mean, we see people show up. There'll be a few coaches that may get beaten around that may not like it as much, and we understand that too. But, you know, what's wrong with, you know, you have that really tough sectional week. Then you got to prepare for one. You got to be ready for 1 game. You get your team rested up a little bit. And if you win that regional with 1 game, then you better be able to play 2 good games to be able to play in the state championship round. And I think that's what we've seen. And it also puts, at the semi-state level, instead of 4 communities across this great state, it puts 8 communities across this state hosting events. And it really means a lot for those communities in the social economic status, where people arrive in their town and eat in their restaurants and buy the gas there and attend events. And I think that's a driver for all this. And we've seen a lot of success with it, and really very few detractors.
All right, thanks to Paul Neidig for the time. We will have part 2, folks, of Andrew's great conversation with the commissioner on next week's show. Time for a break. When we come back, we're talking the Indiana Basketball All-Stars with Director Mike Broughton. That's up next.
This is the Zone Extra, presented by Franciscan Health Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Zone Extra. Next month, the Indiana boys and girls basketball All-Stars will face their counterparts from Kentucky for a pair of games. Our Angela Moryan caught up with Indiana All-Star Director Mike Broughton.
Thanks, AC. Next month, the Indiana boys and girls basketball All-Stars will face off against their Kentucky counterparts for 2 games, June 7th in Lexington and June 8th in Gainbridge Fieldhouse right here in Indy. To talk all about the excitement is Indiana All-Star Director Mike Broughton. Mike, thanks for joining us. We love getting to talk about the All-Stars. Such fun coming in the summer, but man, how much talent there must be on both of these teams. Indiana grows basketball, and that's evident in these teams. How were you able to narrow this down to just 26 players, 13 on each team, with the boys and girls?
Well, it's very difficult each year. This is my 6th year as the director of the Indiana All-Stars. It's an honor to not only be the director, but it's an honor just for a young lady or a young man to make this basketball team, because the All-Star Series started in 1939. This is the 83rd year. We had a year during World War II and, of course, the COVID year that we didn't play. But besides that, it's been basketball every summer in Indiana with Indiana versus Kentucky. So we start in November. I have a committee that helps me, and we try to narrow it down by Christmas to where we have about 40 candidates to 50 for each All-Star team. And then as they go through the season, up until the tournament in February for the girls and March in the boys, we work it down to about 20 or 25, and then we have a top 60 workout where the best players in the state come and play in Indianapolis, usually on a Sunday after the season's over. And from there, the coaches, the committee, myself, who's traveled about 5,000 miles a year, we try to put the team together. We try to get kind of like a college team. I was a college basketball coach. We want some shooters, we want defenders, we want some rebounders, and we want them to get along and have a great experience. As I tell the kids every year, this is the last high school game of the year, and you're one of 13 out of probably 4,000 or 5,000 kids that started the year.
That's crazy. 4 state champions, 3 from this year, 1 from last year on the boys team. What was the defining factors for you in choosing those 13 on the boys side?
Well, I think, you try to, again, put a team together that can do the things like a college team like Purdue tries to do or Indiana. It's hard to really pick the best 13 players in the state because sometimes they're all guards or they may all be post players. And so we have only one basketball to play with. And so we try to share it and we try to get a few guards, a few post players, some wings, some shooters. And so you just kind of put them together. And this year we got a great group of boys, young men and young ladies. I guess I'll start with the ladies. Chloe Spreen from Bedford Miss Basketball. She was a state champion a year ago for Bedford North Lawrence. And then we have Jordan Poole, who will go to Purdue University and play basketball at Purdue, and she's an outstanding player out of Fort Wayne Snyder. And then maybe a couple others. Reagan Wilson out of Noblesville. She's a state champion at Noblesville. They had a great team a couple years ago when she won. And then this year they were one of the top teams in the state and really had a chance to win the state. A lot of the girls got sick during the week and they had some issues with health, or they might have been state champions this year. She's a fine guard going to Iowa State. And then probably the last one, Julianne Woodard, she's going to Michigan State. So we got some Big Ten players that are involved, and we're excited for the girls team to play. We think this is a really good team. I think they're very unselfish, and I can't wait to see them play. And then on the boys' side, of course, we have Flory Badunga, and he's from Kokomo High School. He's an outstanding player. He's going to Kansas. He's 6'11", and we're sure looking forward to seeing him play. He's Mr. Basketball on the boys' side. Jack Benner, state champion out of Brownstown Central. He's going to play Purdue. He's 6'6". He's an outstanding shooter from Brownstown. KJ Wyndham won the state championship last year. Great young man. This year they were state runner-up, and he is going to Northwestern University. And maybe the last one I'll mention is Evan Haywood. We like the local players out of Indianapolis, and he played at Brebeuf High School, and then he's also going to go play his college basketball at Butler University. So we have some very fine players on both sides.
Mike, you've been doing this 6 years. What about this year specifically gets you excited to see how this team will play in both the girls and the boys come in June?
Well, on the girls' side, we have 11 or 12 Division I players, and you can't do a whole lot better than that. And so we feel like that we have a total team that we can play and go out and chase them around. I think it'll be a fast-paced game in the girls' game. We have a number of shooters, and we have good size on the inside with a 6'4" and a 6'3" girl. The 6'4" girl that plays for us this year is Faith Wiseman, and she's going to Indiana University. So I think in the girls' game, it's going to be kind of an attack mode kind of game. It'll be a lot of pressing and chasing. In the boys' game, every year, the All-Star game, going back to George McGinnis, going back to Oscar Robertson, going back years and years, the tradition of Indiana versus Kentucky, it's a wide open game. The game's going to go to 80 or 90. And, we kind of laugh, the director from Kentucky and I, we laugh first team to maybe 90 wins the game.
Oh, we love it. Mike Broughton, the director of the Indiana All-Stars, both the girls and boys, like I said, must-see basketball coming to Gainbridge Fieldhouse June 8th. Make sure you go over to their website and pick up some tickets before they sell out. AC, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Angela, thanks a lot. Great interview, my friend. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we take a look at the spring state tournament schedules. That's next.
This is the Zone Extra, presented by Franciscan Health Sports Medicine.
We're back here on the Zone Extra now. Let's take a look at some of the key upcoming dates for the state tournaments in spring sports. Here we go, folks. And boy, there's a lot of great action ready to take center stage. May the 31st to June the 1st, we got the girls and boys state championship there in state track and field there. May the 31st, June the 1st, we got girls tennis. Then June the 7th through the 8th, you got softball. June the 11th through the 12th, you got boys golf taking place out there in Prairie View golf course there. And then June the 14th to 15th, we got the baseball state finals all coming your way for the spring sports. It's going to be a lot of fun. Folks, that's going to do it for the Zone Extra. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tune in coming up next Thursday night for our final show of the season. Have a great night, everybody.